Hey, business building warrior, welcome to Silent Sales Machine Radio, the podcast that features hundreds of episodes where we've interviewed successful students from our training program who've built beautiful businesses using the internet creatively with a focus on Amazon. Why Amazon? Well, because that's where about half of all internet activity any given day in the United States is happening. Retail activity, it's exploding. The future growth projected for Amazon is huge. Yes, we love Walmart. Yeah, we like eBay. Yes, we like some other platforms as well. But Amazon is exploding. It's the gorilla in the room. So that's where we go. And that's where the students of ours start their journeys typically. And today, no exception. We've got a guy who's been on the show before. Maybe you're familiar with him. If you're not, go back and listen to episode 754. We referenced that episode many times today because it's a great foundation for what you're about to hear. But we do go back and recap a little bit of that episode in the beginning. I'm talking today to Kang Dang. Kang has built the system that automates what we teach around here from start to finish as beautifully as it can possibly be done. And it's not just working for him in his multiple seven-figure high profit margin business, which you'll hear more about on today's show, but it's working for some students, leaders in our community that we're sending his way. This thing is awesome. It's beautiful. I'm not going to call it flawless, but we've pounded so many of the flaws out through an extensive beta testing season. What we've got now is something that's ready for you. To cut straight to the chase, go to silentjimdotcom/the system, one word. We've updated that page since we first launched it. So if it still looks the same as when you saw it before, hit the refresh, do a hard refresh on that page. We got some new info for you on that page about how you can start to get involved. For very little money, you can start to use the software system that is being used by an increasing number of students in our community to grow beautiful businesses on the REPLENS model of selling on Amazon, which is what we talk about on 95% of our shows here. We love to dwell on that specific topic because we still see it as, and we see the future as well of e-commerce being built around those who understand that basic entry level, low risk, low investment required, high odds of success system. Once you understand the basics of that, you can go into many different directions, as Kang discusses today. He's not just doing Amazon replens, helping Amazon fill the underserved shelf space at Amazon. That's how we define replens around here in the briefest possible manner. Amazon has hundreds of warehouses, about a billion ASINs. There's a lot of underserved shelf space at Amazon, and you help fill that shelf space as a reseller. That's step one. Once you understand that model, and Kang has built it up to about $3 million as an example, but you can start to get into branded bundles, wholesale, private label, all kinds of other exciting opportunities. We teach all that as well, of course, but we want you to start with where the most exciting success stories for our new students start almost exclusively, and that's replens. And that's what the system is built around helping you launch. It will help you manage your Amazon business no matter what kind of model you're selling against. It will also help you manage your Walmart business as well, which is just incredible. So the features are coming fast and furious. You're going to hear today from a guy who is as qualified as anyone I know in my tens of thousands of connections in e-commerce, the people I've met and interacted with. I've never met anyone more qualified to build what Kang has built. It's working. It's powerful. We want you to be a part of it. If you're not quite ready yet because you don't understand the Amazon replens model, those basic business models that we teach in our community, the place to go is to the Proven Amazon course. Pick up those basic skills. Now, the Proven Amazon course has dozens of modules inside of it, all kinds of different strategies. But when you're new to the Proven Amazon course, we start you in the Getting Started section and we teach you the replens model, that same model that's behind the hundreds of success stories on this podcast, the thousands of posts in our free Facebook group. There's links to all of this at silentjim.com. If you're ready to get serious, and put some of your mental, emotional energy into a business, invest a little bit of capital, not much, doesn't take much at all to get started, build something special that can become a true asset that can be sold later to someone else as a successful, profitable business. This is where you need to be. This is the community to be in. The future has never been brighter. We've got all the evidence you could ever want. Maybe you've struggled with Amazon or e-commerce in the past. We fully believe that if you're ready to take it serious, apply what we've learned, apply the strategies that we found, serve some of those billion underserved ASINs. There's a billion ASINs on Amazon in the US. So many of them, hundreds of thousands of them, are underserved, meaning more sellers could jump on them and be doing well. We've got a system. We want to show it to you, and we're excited to reveal today what we've systemized. And we're calling it, for lack of a better word, the system. And the man behind the system is Kang. Since this episode will be coming out just before our Proven conference, I want to spend a last chance reminding you that May 23rd through 25th of 2024 in Orlando, Florida, hundreds of us, last time I looked, about 740 people were registered, are going to gather in Orlando, Florida for a 3-day event that you simply cannot miss if it's at all possible. Now, we are going to be recording the event. We are going to be live streaming most of the event as well. All those details are at theprovenconference.com. There's a link at silentjimdotcom to that as well. Links to everything from one spot for you conveniently. But it may be sold out by the time you hear this. I know we're on the cusp of selling out. VIP is already sold out. If it's sold out, get live stream. You will want this content because we're excited about many things around here. Kang's story is just one of them. Dozens of breakout sessions at this event on all the different strategies that are working successfully in our community right now. We want you to have the lifestyle of your dreams because you've built the business of your dreams using the internet creatively with multiple income streams, helping you live a very flexible lifestyle. That's possible. Many of us are doing it. We want it for you. Thanks for joining us for this conversation and this update chat with Kang Dang. Enjoy. So, Kang, good to see you again, my friend, as always.
Same thing. Same here.
We've been busy working together, dude. Tell me what's been going on. Maybe we should start with a little recap of your story for those who don't know who you are. Probably mentioned a little in the intro, but you know, fill us in the brief bio of Kang, and then we'll rock into this.
Sure. Yeah. So I've been on this podcast a few times. Don't ask me the episode numbers. I don't remember.
I've got it.
But
754 is the one people need to go hear. I don't know before that though. You were on before that a couple times, I think.
I think that was probably 754 is probably my third time. So you can go back and kind of listen to my history and how I started on Amazon and that kind of thing. But just to summarize it real quick, it's, I've been selling for over 3 years now and started off fresh. I wanted to get into a business that could be one day a hands-free business that could bring in the income that I'm used to having. I used to have a business that, generated great income, but took up all my time. So I wanted the positive sides of running the business in terms of the income generation, but also have a business that frees up my time. So I thought at the time, 3 years ago, that selling online would be a great idea. So I somehow found your podcast, and then I really looked into it. I paid for the proven Amazon course, watched the replens course, and really got to know the basics. And that's what really sparked the interest. I was like, this is actually a really cool business. And then I took it seriously. So I hired you guys, Jim Cochran Coaching, and I have nothing but positive things to say about it. It really kind of sped up the learning process through coaching. I mean, I could have learned it on my own, but I think I would have probably been 6 to 8 months behind if I did it on my own. So I learned all the tips and tricks and everything through you guys through the coaching group. And then from there, I just started to stay in the group and learn, through the groups and through the various trainings, through the wholesale courses, the bundle courses, and I really expanded the business. And in terms of numbers, first year we were shy of 1 million. Second year did 2 million. This year did 3. Who knows what we're going to do next year? So
Yeah. Yeah. And you've really dialed in the system and you're very humble about what you've built, but you've really got this systemized in a way that to date, no one in our community has. And that's probably indicated in the podcast episode title today in the description today. But this completely automated replens business model that you've built. And I appreciate the positive things you're saying about our team and our coaching and the courses and all that. But you've taken it another level that we've never had before as far as automating this thing to the point where you check your stats, monitor your team, but you've built the software that runs what we're calling around here the system, and it's pretty special, man. So maybe get us caught up a little bit. What's happened since? Those who haven't heard episode 754, you probably should go back and listen to it. It's been one of our most popular episodes of the past 6 8 months or so. Go check out that episode. But you kind of left us at that episode with, hey, we're looking for some beta testers. We're starting to form a line of people who want to hear more about this software solution that automates replens from start to finish. What's happened since then? We had a few people raise their hand who are qualified to jump in and try this out. How's it going? Fill us in.
Yeah, yeah. So in that episode, we talked about how I run this business pretty much hands free. I only look at my stats or look at what I sold for fun, as a stress reliever. But it's ran by my entire team through the system. And we've decided a few months back to open this up to to other users instead of just me running it through my company. And we started a beta round because I really wanted to make sure that it was polished before we, make any kind of public offering. Because we need to make sure that it's compatible with multiple users and clean it all up. And that process has been going really well for the last few months. We have, a good handful of users that are using it, on their business right now. I'm getting a lot of great feedback. One person said, it helps her eliminate so many tools so that everything stays in one place and it really speeds up her sourcing. And, I've gotten other comments like, the ability to go back and check all of your old ASINs and monitor it real time is like a game changer. So super positive feedback. And, now we're at the point where we want to release it out to a second round of users and open up that opportunity it for the coaching students. We want to stick to our community and make sure that our community users are the ones getting the early access, the first dibs, and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and I know that we want people to have a base understanding of what the replens model is. Some people think they know what replens is, but usually, if you haven't studied it for a few hours, you don't know what it is. So you need to understand that it's not scanning barcodes in the clearance aisle. It's not selling something to the same customer over and over again. Those are two of the common misconceptions. It's basically helping Amazon fill the underserved shelf space at Amazon, is the way I describe it. But for those who don't know what that is, listen to some more podcast episodes or get into the Proven Amazon course if you're interested. But like you just said, Kang, we've had a good handful of people now go through this. Some really smart people have tried to break it, suggested new features. We've now proven that it can run for as many people as we want it to run for. It's not just your business anymore. It's a lot of users in there. Yeah, we're super excited to start to open this up. The details, like I mentioned in the introduction, are at silentjimdotcom/the system. If you've been to that website before, do a hard refresh because we've added some updates with some more specifics on how you can now get involved with this, what the prerequisites are. The price is going to be ridiculously low. Just go check it all out there. We've got that page with all the latest updates because some people may hear this a year from now. Okay, the latest updates are there. But let's talk about some of the features of this software. I know we dove into it just a little bit the last time we talked, episode 754. But
Yeah.
talk about what this does, because again, that's a big, bold claim to talk about. Some people have 8, 10 different software running to help the replens business automate. We call it Frankensteining together a system.
Mhm.
What does the system do front to back?
Yeah. So the initial goal in building the system is that I too was one of those users, and I just call it a cocktail of software, right? It's just you just have a piece of software that does very specific things. And the problem with that issue for us, it was causing a huge amount of inefficiency because none of those pieces of software really talks to each other. You constantly have to waste time, exporting, importing data into, all these systems, and then there's that lag time, and there's just not that synergy that could be done. So
Multiple
the
spreadsheets typically.
Yeah, spreadsheets, Google Sheets all over the place, tabs everywhere. So the one beauty of the software is that it combines all of these tools that you need to run an Amazon business into, the smallest amount of tools that you need. Our eventual goal is just to have one tool to run it all. And we're not too far away from that. But in general, this software, what it does is it starts off with sourcing. So it provides a Chrome extension like you would use with, let's say a Rev Seller, Seller Amp, Ace and Zen, something like that, right? So from there, when my VAs find a lead, instead of saving it to a Google sheet, what it does is it will save it into a system. And the benefit of that is a Google sheet is static data. So let's say, for instance, your VA finds a lead that is, 20, 25, 30% margin at that time. But by the time you buy it, the data could have changed dramatically. The market could have changed. Well, the benefit of using a system is that it constantly updates the market data so that at the time that you purchase, you know what the landscape looks like. Another benefit is it allows you to go back in time and check all of your leads for something that may have tanked. And it allows you to see what the landscape looks like today and make purchases off of those ASINs. I always like to say that there is no ASIN that is tanked. It's just temporary, it's not tanked permanently. It will rebound once the sellers drop off. It
Mhm.
will come back. And I've been showing examples of that. I probably could send like 100 screenshots if I want, because that's all we do in our business is we just wait for sellers to drop off and we get back on.
Yep.
I've sent listings where, I'm barely breaking even and then I make a sale that makes like $18. Just today, just like right before this meeting, I was sharing with you, Jim. I was just looking for fun. Like this, I tell you, this is what I do for stress relief. I look at my sales and seeing the Keepa graph. I see, and every time I look at it, it makes me smile. Like I see a ramp up of sellers and then a dramatic drop over time, over like a month, 2 months, 3 months. It'll go from like 50 sellers to like four because they're just it's just a bloodbath, right? And just now, I just sold six like wine, like not wine glasses, but they're like teacups or something like that. And I made, I think, like almost $17 at 42% gross margin. We sell stuff like this all day long. It's because the system just constantly rechecks all of my ASINs and tell me which ones to buy.
I think we might end up with a new acronym based on that feature. Like, I'm just the acronym that's popping in my head is TRA, Tank Recovery Alerts. Because every ASIN, and we've said this for a long time,
Yeah.
those ASINs that drop in price and a bunch of sellers jump on
Mm,
it, typically we've associated that in our community or reseller community in general as a negative. But
mhm,
really all it is it's a delayed positive. Because
mhm,
as you and I both know, but maybe the listeners don't realize yet, when a whole bunch of sellers jump on something and we're selling a ton of it at a crazy low price, that ASIN gets a dramatic boost in the search algorithm.
mhm,
It shoots up closer to page one. Maybe it started on page 1,000. Now it's on page one. Like it's up there. And so when everyone gets done beating each other up, selling out all of their inventory super cheap, the opportunity to come in on the upswing on that price to get an alert at that point in time, that's a buy alert basically. Your system's doing that. So all day, every day, the system is monitoring your catalog for those opportunities and say, yeah, time to go buy a few of these, send them in.
mhm.
You catch it on the price increase.
Yeah.
And that's just one of multiple strategies for replens, by the way. Sometimes people are like, oh, is that all you do? No, we do a lot of things, but that's one exciting strategy for finding great replens that you can hop on the upswing. And you've got a catalog. How many approximately ASINs are in your catalog running through the system?
I have last time, if I recall correctly, I have about seven to somewhere between 7 and 10,000 ASINs, and I've cleared out a lot, like the ones that like Amazon has purged from their catalog or whatever,
Sure.
and I'm constantly adding more through my team.
Right.
So on in general, the way I've set up my team is I have three sourcing agents that finds anywhere from 5 to 10 new leads a day. And then I have a purchasing agents that goes through those leads and purchase not only the new leads, but then they go back and buy the ones that the system tells him to rebuy. So, I mean, really, just off of that, I could, I mean, just off of that setup, I can probably just keep growing like the way I've been growing, almost like $1 million a year, as long as I keep feeding it money, keep feeding the
Mhm,
business money
mhm.
to buy the inventory.
Hey, you'd said
But
one time earlier, the decision you make now as the business owner is how much money do I want to put into new ASINs this month, right? Like that's the
eh,
decision you're basically making each month is, all right, I think I'll crank it up a little bit and
yeah,
put a little more money in and the and you're buying your buyer. Now that's a virtual assistant, right? A VA,
hmm,
Philippines, your
yeah,
buyer, right?
Philippines, they're
So
all
you
from
pay
the
them
Philippines.
a few dollars per hour. They're doing a great job for you. We've got many people in our community who have done that. Many people do it themselves. Some of them have hired a virtual assistant, but their job is to just pull the trigger, make those purchases based on what the system has told them is good to go. And they, do a little quick eyeball of it and off you go. So you can scale as much as you want
Yeah,
based on,
yeah.
when they run out of money, they stop buying. You put more money in, they keep buying, right? That's the beauty of what's been built here.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
and that's pretty much all I do is just to manage the budget and look at the numbers and then the rest of my time I'm doing fun stuff like building the software and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So it's really it's something that I hope that I could have built 3 years ago, and I have built it.
Yes.
It's a hands-off business
Yep.
that generates great income, and it just opens, so many doors. So
And
yeah,
the
it's
fact that we're using live keep a token data, that distinguishes this from a lot of the other tools. Even if you were pieced together some of the other tools that are out there, live keep a data integrated into your tool is very rare. And that's, I think, a big piece of what separates this, as well as how comprehensive it is the workflow is really what you described it as initially when we were talking about this. Like it's a complete workflow for the replens model specifically. Works for wholesale, obviously. Anyone who's selling on a bunch of different ASINs on Amazon, right? That's who it's for. Maybe you could help paint a slightly clearer picture of who this
yeah.
is for and talk me through. We talked about the sourcing and the monitoring of the ASINs, but let's feature dump just a little bit some of the other pieces that this touches and automates for the first time ever for a replen seller specifically.
Yeah, so it is a workflow management system. It's built exactly the way the life cycle of selling on Amazon is like. You have to source it, you have to manage the leads, you have to manage your purchases, which in our system, when you place a purchase order, not only are you recording what you buy when you buy, but you also store the invoices or the receipts into the system. So it's also a receipt management system so that when you do get an IP complaint, you don't have to go dig up your email because Amazon they don't want one receipt. They want 365 days worth of purchases for that ASIN. What if you made 15 purchases? It's so time consuming to find all of those receipts, even if you were meticulous with keeping all of your order IDs and all that stuff, right? For us, all we gotta do is enter the ASIN in the that page. It pops out every single purchase we've ever made for that. One click of a button, it downloads every single receipt ever purchased for that ASIN. It saves so much time. It helps with accounting, right? So, for instance, my accountant is a sub user of this system. What I have her do is not only does she prepare my books, but she also reclaims my sales tax for resale because in Texas and in many states you can reclaim your
Most. Yep.
yeah, all the
Oh, I
taxes.
didn't even know that was a feature in there. That's phenomenal. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's a huge tax credit just waiting to happen for a lot of people. And
yeah,
you've taken
yeah.
all this work out of tedious
Mhm.
work out of getting that credit back. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's
Wow.
a feature in there where you can mark which purchases you paid sales tax on. And what it does is with a click of a button, it downloads every transaction, every ASIN, how much you paid for it into an Excel spreadsheet. And then it also, like I mentioned, it's a receipt management system. So it downloads all of the receipts that is required to submit to your comptroller to reclaim that sales tax back. I mean, the just a few weeks ago, I got a sales tax check for like I think it was like 10,500 $500 for reclaimed taxes, right? And I get that, every few months. So my CPA, she loves this thing. She was like, give me a referral link and I will go send it to all of my Amazon clients, you
Yep.
know?
When it's open to the public, which will happen at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe this is a good time. Well, let's finish the workflow
Yeah.
concept.
Yeah.
Hit the highlights. We don't have to dump all the features, obviously, but I want to talk about who this is for now, who we intend it to be for, and kind of like what the big vision is that we have for the software. But let's finish our feature
Yeah, so
check
so from
boxes first.
so yeah, so after you source, after you manage your leads, and after you purchase it, the other part of the workflow is to prep and ship. Now, I know a lot of you folks use a prep center, and we actually do have, in our beta group right now, a lot of folks that do use a prep center, but they still find that the check-in feature is extremely useful because what happens is when you send your stuff to a prep center, you don't have a very good picture of what is pending, meaning like
Mhm.
let's say you've made $10,000 worth of purchases and they send in 8,000. You don't really have a clear picture of that other $2,000 that's still lingering out there. Is it sitting in their warehouse? Is it still on the way?
Is it en
Um,
route? Was the order canceled? Right. Just
mhm.
knowing where all that money's sitting and where the physical inventory is for all that money you spent. Yeah.
Right.
The partial
So
shipments, you ordered 20 and they sent 18.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. And one of the features that is in that check-in feature is it allows you to see what orders have been fulfilled and which ones are still lingering out there. And one of our beta users is really loving that feature, and she was like saying that, "Oh man, you know how many times I've had to ask my prep center like, where's this order?" And it's like it's very chaotic if you just track it through emails and spreadsheets. Where this system can tell you exactly what is not been sent in to Amazon and what's still lingering out there. But if you do run your own warehouse, your own prep and ship, maybe you do it out of your house, it allows you to check in products so much faster by, helping you identify the products quicker, importing it into. So right now it's still dependent on a shipping software like Inventory Lab or Scan Power, but we do have that in our sites that we're going to build out a inventory lab or scan power like software so that it can just complete the entire workflow. On top of that, there's a lot more upcoming, like for instance, the integration with Walmart. That is coming very soon, and I'm really excited to
Yeah.
release
You just
software.
went through the process here just a couple days ago. You sent us an excited text. It's like, hey, we've got
Yeah,
approved for integration with Walmart. So
yeah.
those in the community who are starting to lean into Walmart as well as Amazon, this is going to manage that workflow right alongside. Pretty
Mhm.
exciting
Yeah, and
development.
and basically to answer your question, Jim, who's this for? It's really for any person that wants to efficiently manage their online arbitrage business, retail arbitrage, wholesale. Even I run my branded bundles through this software just to see how well it's performing. It
Mhm.
also gives you financial data, like which ones are your best ASINs, which ones are your how much money have you made off of this transaction. It gives you all of that data into one software so that you're not jumping around importing exporting and there's room for error, like if you fat finger your cost of goods, there's all kinds of things that it alleviates. So there's a lot of I would say I was it BHAG, big hairy audacious
Yeah.
goal
Yeah.
for this thing is to have one software that can run your entire business that allows you to set up a team like mine where I can basically like if you listen to the previous episode, I've had moments where I just could not work. I just could not work. I went through personal issues, or I'm taking my family on a vacation for 2 weeks, and I'm not going to spend time that I've set aside for my family, crunching on my laptop. I completely depended on my team during those weeks, and I came back. Business is still rolling. I think I shared with you, Jim, that I've spent probably the last 6 months doing nothing but this software stuff,
Right.
and my business continues to run like clockwork. I don't
And
touch
grow based on how
it. Mhm,
much investment you put into it. Yeah, I think it was that previous episode where you were on 754, where
mhm.
you had just got back from a vacation, several week vacation, where the only thing you'd done with your business was swipe down to check your stats every few days just to see if everything was still rocking. you were in full family mode, and understandably so. For those who go back and listen to that episode, the story is told there. But that's when we knew, like, okay, we're on to something pretty special here. I believe God has inspired some creativity inside of you and brought the right person at the right time with the right skill set to this community and to the reseller community at large, who had the capacity to bring together all these moving parts, some of which are already accomplished in other software tools, many of which just aren't being done in an automated fashion by anyone, and then putting it all under one roof. So, I want to speak to the people right now who are thinking, okay, does this mean I'm just going to turn off everything I'm already doing and just like hit a reset button? No, we don't think so. Many very successful sellers have working systems. We're not saying hit the restart button, turn off everything, jump both feet. We are saying, I think we've got something. If you're new or you're in those early stages, yeah, you want to go ahead and jump in with both feet. And this is something to keep an eye out on. Uh, you know, as your system, if it because here's what else you've got. Because King, you said something like, "Hey, I don't always want to be paying attention to my business all day, every day. I don't want to be the guy in the weeds. There's times where I'm sick or I'm out, family, whatever." Also, you want to build an asset that can be sold someday. And I
Mhm.
believe what we've got now is finally the first thing. You could write a proposal right now on one sheet of paper for what's involved with taking over your business
Yeah, yeah,
for
it's
another
it's
owner,
really
and we've
yeah.
never had that before.
Yeah. I think if I were to want to sell this business, I wouldn't have a problem doing it because this is what you should strive for as a business owner. You shouldn't be doing this work yourself. If you break a leg or something happens to you, personally, you can't work, business stops. And that shouldn't be the way you run a business. And I know a lot of people that do that they make great margins because they have low expenses, but there's more risk in that. Like if something happens to you, your business is gone. And if something were to happen to me, my wife knows enough about the business that she can just, you know what, I'll just go sell it. And the business, the team is everything is set up, the system runs on its own, all the store, the process and procedures are there. So it's a business that is really something that you can sell if you really needed to or wanted to. And there's just not on top of that, even if you like to run, this business, which I love running this business. I mean, it just generates cash. I mean, what's not to like? But it's the efficiency is really key in what this business. I mean, this software does is that, I mean, I run the business at my volume. I know I'm not like some gigantic seller selling, a couple $1 million a month,
Yeah,
but
but you're at the stage where 99% of our audience would like to be, as kind
mhm,
of a big goal. So,
yeah, and
3 million is no joke. That's a significant business.
yeah, and I run this business with a warehouse employee and a part-timer. That's pretty much my warehouse.
And your VA
So
team that you mentioned.
and the VA team, right? I have 4 VAs, and a very efficient system in terms of keeping down your profits, and especially for the newcomers, like the folks that are just joining in. You don't
Mhm.
want to be spending, $1,000 in software cocktail, right? You want something that covers the entire business, that you can run the entire thing without having to pay a subscription here and subscription there, and it adds up really quick you
Right,
know?
right. And something we've been known for, to kind of transition into that conversation for 20 plus years is we don't have anything that's expensive. We
Mhm,
just don't. In this community, my commitment from day one has been I'm going to teach you things that don't require an advanced PhD in some new technology. Like we're going to break it down and keep it simple. And it's not going to be expensive for you to wade in and grow something significant.
mhm,
And that's what we're doing here. In the conversations we've had, it's like, how do we keep the price as low as humanly possible while providing world class level customer support? So it's just not an expensive thing to maintain software. It's just not, and we've never done it before.
mm,
I've never put my name in like, okay, this is a software I'm getting behind, and we're going to do this. 20 years, I've never done that. I'm doing it now. I'm jumping in. Full disclosure, I have an ownership share stake in this, as do a couple other leaders on our team, and that this is our baby now. So we want
mhm,
to make it world class, and the price is going to blow people away. I mean, the expense. Now, this first round, I want to start talking specifics about what we're looking to do next. right? At some point, we'll just pull back the curtain. If you got a credit card and you're ready to go and you understand the replens reselling models, which will always offer education in conjunction with this. So if you need that education, we're going to get it for you. But this next round, as we are spring of 2024 coming up on our live event where this is going to be talked about a lot. But what is it we're wanting to do next? Let's just start to break that down. We've had a handful of conversations about it. Of course, people can go to silentjimdotcom/the system, two words, the system, crammed together, those two words, and you'll see the
Mhm.
details. Be sure to refresh that page, like I said earlier, because if you see the same thing you used to see there, you haven't refreshed it. We've got some updates for you on what specifically is involved. But who are we looking for in this next step? Who's a good fit for this? Again, this beta 2.0 group, right? We've done the beta one. We've proven
Mhm.
it works. Now we're looking to start building this out with some people who are like, yeah, I want my business to run on this and we want a bigger group. So let's just talk through that for a moment.
Yeah, so we're looking for a small group, and how small you can find out on the website. But what we're looking to do is open up almost like a mastermind for the early adopters.
Mhm.
What we want to do is that we want to introduce you to the software, but not only just kind of like it's a group where not only do I show you the software, but how I use it in my business, how I set up my teams to use the software, and almost it's like a session or like a master class to kind of recreate what I built in my business and using this software. And we'll have a session every other week where I will be on a group Zoom session with the users, and we'll do things like we may do live sourcing together. We may do like I will pretend to be a purchasing agent and show you the process of how the purchasing agent make purchases and store the receipts. I will like show you like if you get an IP complaint, how easy it is to pull those receipts out, how to set up your team's setup in terms of like permissions and that kind of thing. Because that's one thing I didn't mention about the software is that the way it's set up is it's permission based. So that, like for instance, I will show you how to set up the system where if you have a team of VAs, they can't see each other's leads,
Right.
right? They can only see what they found. So
Yes.
which also gives you a level of protection in your business. They can't see how much money you made off of that lead,
Yep.
how
They
many
can't
you
do a
purchased.
database dump and sell it to another seller.
No, no. So, they only see what they find. So it's another layer that protects your business. So during those sessions, I will go over all of those things. And as well as going over the nitty gritty of the software, I'll show you how to find leads that you have in your system that the sellers are dropping off, and it's a good opportunity to buy for you. So those type of things is what we're trying to accomplish in this next round.
Yeah, it's going to be phenomenal. And just to be coached by you would cost several $1,000s. So, but that's not what we're charging. We're going to do basically group coaching on the system for our coaching students. That's a prerequisite. You'll see this on the page, silentjim.com/the system. A prerequisite is you need to be a coaching student with us. You could have been a coaching student in the past, but you need to understand the Replen system, be a coaching student. Maybe you're getting coaching one on one from someone else that's teaching you the basics of replens because you can't work one on one with everybody. But as a group, like you said, you're going to gather on a regular basis, go over the details and features of this, help everyone ramp up from that experience, which is only going to cost a few $100s. We don't have an exact price; it'll be on the page. I mean, we want a good beta group of people who are taking it serious. We're charging just enough to know we're working with some serious folks who want to do this thing, and then from that, we start to, I think, maybe as a phase three, we start to pull back and say, okay, proven Amazon course students. You don't have to be a coaching student anymore. You do need to have a few ASINs rolling. You need to understand replens. So you got something to plug in. Upload your ASINs into this database and let's go. That'll be kind of like a phase three. I think maybe a phase 4 and 5 will develop over time. Like, okay, anybody with a credit card, jump in. We're going to train you. Here's the videos, right? But that comes, you know, 6 months, a year from now, maybe. But right now, spring of 2024, we're looking for that group of, a few dozen. We'll cap it off at something reasonable. People who are willing to pay a few $100s. The price is on the page, and let's do this thing as a group. And we want 50 Kangs and then 100 Kangs and then 5,000 Kang type businesses out there operating where really your job's reduced to monitoring your stats and deciding how much money you want to put into the system while you're building an asset based
Mhm.
on the replens reselling model. A very bright future for this industry. And as a recent episode, I think the one as we're recording this, Kang, it was published today, where a group of us got on there and kind of talked about, hey, some of the new fees and some of the new shipping challenges, and where are we at? And the consensus is among anyone who's got their head screwed on right, the future is as bright as it's ever been. E-commerce is exploding, Amazon is exploding, Walmart is exploding as well. Get in to this. This is a
Yeah.
very valuable skill set, producing a lot of incredible success stories and results just in our community. But I think that we're going to start to see some people from other communities take note of what's happening here and see how much easier we can make their life. And this tool doesn't belong to just our community for very much longer. I think it's going to be pretty widespread.
Yeah, and we'll have to, this round here that we're doing, we're gonna have to cap it off at some point because
Yes.
if 200 people sign up and I'm in a group
Yeah.
Zoom call with
It won't
200
be that
people,
many. It could be a few
that
dozen.
will
Yeah.
no, that's what I'm trying to explain to the listeners is that it will be have to be a cap group, a group so that it doesn't get chaotic because I can't answer 200 people's questions. But like you just mentioned, with all these new fees and that kind of thing, if I have a system where I'm making 18 bucks a sale at 42% margin, I'm not really worried about it.
Right. What's another 40 cents a unit?
Yeah, I'm not really worried about it.
Mhm.
So you really, once you do, build up a sizable list of ASINs, and you have a system where your VAs are or your team. Shouldn't say VAs, not everybody has a remote team, but your team, your sourcing team is bringing in ASINs every day. I mean, this business can just keep running on its own.
Yeah, it can churn. And everyone starts off typically, I'd say 95% of our students, they start off, they're doing it all. And that's great. It's built to accommodate that, but you can very quickly designate certain roles, give them their own ID and password login, and they're seeing just their role, right? And they're
Mhm,
only seeing their portion of the software that they need to do their job. You can start to delegate that out. But that's a lot of what our training is going to involve over time. I think as this develops out, it's going to be a pretty turnkey thing. Initial investment, initial training, hire your team, assign their roles, start building your catalog, and
mhm,
monitor those ASINs automatically, jumping in and out of them at the appropriate time to
mhm,
ride the wave. And those waves roll so predictably up and down with ASINs as far as the prices rising and falling and sellers coming and going. And it's just a matter of getting in at the right time. And again, that's just one strategy. My above buy box strategy. I intend to deploy that inside of the system, right? The people who go all in and say, okay, I'm going to buy 1,000 units at a discount. Yeah, we can
mhm,
monitor all those units. I've got a great wholesale relationship here. I've got my branded bundles that require different components and different pieces to all have, that's all going to be in there. You've talked about that, monitoring your
mhm.
bundles, because, with a bundle, you got to have the same, you got to have a unit of each item. Like tracking that can
Yeah,
be
yeah.
tedious, right? You're
I mean,
starting to build that in already, if I remember correctly.
yeah, just like a little teaser. I mean, we have the warehouse feature being integrated in. It's actually already built, but we're that's the thing. The really good thing about being the part of the early adopter group, as well as you get to use all of the new features that we are
Mhm.
building. Let's say, for instance, in the future, we're building something for Walmart. You're going to be the first ones to use it, test it out before we release it out to the public. We have a warehouse feature coming very soon where it's going to be able to keep track of all your dead piles that you have in your warehouse, your inventory costs. Again, my CPA loves this thing because I don't have to report to her what my standing inventory is in my warehouse every month. She just goes and pulls it herself.
It's in
Uh,
there at all times. We've become fond of calling that the profit pile instead of the debt pile.
yeah.
It sounds more like us, right? That abundance mindset versus that scarcity. But yeah, I know exactly what you're saying. Every seller has that, dusty corner of inventory. Like, no, it's all in the if it hasn't sold yet, it hasn't been shipped in yet, here's the report that shows you what's there.
Well, it's not just useful for your profit pile, but it's also for your branded bundles because like branded
Mhm.
bundles, you have a lot of your branded products, right? That you have to buy like a good amount ahead of time. So it could be sitting off in a pallet somewhere, a couple boxes. So it's a way to monitor also how much of these, whatever things that you have for your branded bundle that you have left, so you can keep track of not only your expiration dates that products you have. Like sometimes you have to buy things like for instance, we do wholesale as well. Sometimes we have a good deal and we'll buy like months of inventory ahead of time because it's like a really great deal. But those things sometimes expire, so you have to have a system to keep track of when it's going to expire so that you know to move it properly. That warehouse feature will be very beneficial for that. We run our branded bundles through this, like I mentioned, so it keeps tabs of each of those components, how much they cost, so that it tracks your ASIN cost properly.
Mm.
So it does so many things. Like once you see it, you'll see how it kind of just basically is the system that runs my business,
Yeah,
right?
it
So,
legitimately is. I mean, that's a good name we picked for it, the system, and
mhm.
it manages multiple accounts for you as well, correct?
Yeah, I have 2 selling accounts, and one is for, my arbitrage and for my generic wholesale stuff, and then I have another account where I sell, my bundles, private label. I'm dipping my toes into private labels, nothing big, but selling on that, and for my brand exclusive because, for me, it's just a lot of people have been asking why you have a second account because I don't want my brands where I go asking for exclusive, seeing me selling Nike and
Sure.
Equate, stuff,
Makes
right?
sense. Yeah, we're launching a private label and a second account right now ourselves. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I
so I
completely understand the logic there.
so I split those out and my system runs both accounts just
Mhm.
to.
And it could run more feasibly, correct?
Sure. Yeah,
So, I
absolutely.
mean, conceivably, I should say. So, this could become a solution for people who want to run a small prep center,
Mhm.
potentially. We haven't
Yeah.
thought that through entirely yet, but that's a small leap from where we are now to manage other
Yeah.
people's accounts, right?
Yeah, I mean, this can branch out to so many things, with if you run an accounting firm and just like my accountant says, she's gonna go, convince all her Amazon clients to use this
Yeah.
thing.
Or
Save
e-commerce clients of any kind, right? Because
Mhm.
it could be shipping to Amazon, it could be shipping to Walmart, it could be selling on a Shopify site, right? But
Yeah.
those things aren't going to matter. It's an inventory management system that taps into the power, and I think the true heart of this is tapping into the power of tracking the history of your ASINs, knowing when it's time to go buy more based on the replens model. I think it will become more than that over time, but right now we've really doubled down on that. That's where the hundreds of success stories on this podcast have come from, is people who, of all the dozens of ways you can make money on Amazon, they've got into the replen system. That's where we start new sellers. So this is what we've all systemized out. But this could become, you know, over time, so much more than that. And and that's certainly the goal. Maybe that's phase 5 or 6 is we're tackling people who don't even sell on Amazon, but they've got a Shopify store and they need help with their workflow, right? I think we
Mhm.
start getting into some of that territory as well. But people who get into it now with us are going to enjoy that journey. Something else we didn't point out for the people who jump in now early, grandfathered in, best pricing you'll ever see. If this thing becomes pricier over time, we're going to lock these people in at a great grandfathered price because they're going on this journey with us. So yeah, now is a good time to take this seriously.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, just the amount of features that we're going to add to this thing is ridiculous. And over time, we're going to have to charge more for the extra features. But that's what we're offering to the early group, the early adopters, is that you'll be grandfathered to a set price that's low. We're not talking hundreds of dollars here.
No,
It's going to be a very low price. We're
just
talking
over our cost, basically.
Yeah. And so we're going to, make it very attractive that you'll be grandfathered in, forever. And yeah, so I think it's gonna be a lot of people are gonna love it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I want to speak to something too that we didn't brag enough about. You're not the kind of guy that brags about all his qualifications, but you'll hear this on some of the past episodes where I pulled it out of you, just how qualified you are to be the guy that does this. You built a software system that was running a large company. Like you were the guy behind it. You didn't do all the programming, but you're a programmer, but you managed the team that did the programming that built. Tell us a little bit about what that did and how many people were interacting with that piece of software, just how robust it had to be. I think people need to hear that. Like, you're not just a guy that had an idea and hired a couple programmers a few weeks ago. Like, this is what, you're probably the most qualified person in our community of tens of thousands to tackle what you've tackled.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I don't like to talk about myself, and I mean, you will never hear me ever brag about my previous business. But when people ask, I'm not shy to tell them. It's in the past, 10 years ago, I ran a very large and successful business. We were at our peak at 136 million or so in revenue, generating many, many millions of dollars in profit. And we were able to do that by leveraging efficient processes, software that I built, very similar. I took that exact concept that I ran this $100 million business, building workflows and efficient processes into software that was able to run that business with about 100 and maybe 150 employees or so. And we ran that business for 10 years.
Mhm.
And I would still probably be running that business if it just didn't, it was just too big.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
uh,
But yeah, I was taking up too much. You were saying, I was losing track of my family, and I was living with strangers. I think
yeah,
something along
yeah,
those lines. And like,
yeah,
I need something from home. And that's when
yeah,
you found our community, found our podcast, found Replens, and said, "Hmm, I can systemize this." And that's what you've done. And you've proven
yeah,
it. And now we've
yeah.
proven it with a handful of others. Now we're saying, all right, let's wade in nice and slow the way we do things around here. There'll probably never be like a big launch date with, whistles and confetti and balloons. We're probably never going to do that, but we're going to continue to roll this thing out in a slow build momentum. We're going to look over our shoulder, and I think we're going to have changed thousands of lives at some point based on the current trajectory that I'm seeing in all areas. And yeah, you've got a brilliant mind. You're a leader with a limp, which I can respect and love and trust, meaning you've been beat up, man. And for those who don't know what we're talking about, go back and listen to the previous episode. But you've got a humility about you, and you're more than capable. And I just love your heart, man. It's an honor to work with you.
Yeah, thank you. And it's really what I want to do. I mean, I this is kind of my focus, kind of like it's actually kind of ties back to everything you always talk about, Jim. Is like, don't chase your passion, right? You just do what you're good at, right? And just go make money. Serve people, right?
Serve others well. Yeah. If you see a
And
long line of people standing there to say thank you with those little green pieces of paper called, dollar bills, you're doing it right.
Right. And I built a business that serves many people on, the Amazon, Walmart marketplace and that kind of thing. And, they are giving me their certificate of appreciation, right? Like you always say. But I do have to say that I'm truly blessed when I'm able to do what I do love, is building these efficiencies and building these things that benefit other people, and also being able to put food on the table for my family. I mean, when you can blend those two in, I mean, you're truly blessed. So I'm really excited to serve as many people in this community as possible, and so yeah, it
Well,
comes from the heart.
it's a bright future, man. It's an honor to work with you, and I think this is going to generate a lot of interest, a lot of questions. The call to action is the same for everyone. Get over to it. Doesn't matter if you're listening to this 3 years after the episode came out. The call to action is the same. Get over to silentjimdotcom/the system. We'll have the latest for you there, how you can get involved with this, maybe how long you're going to need to wait to be a part of it. If you're not one of our coaching students or not a student of the Proven Amazon course, there's going to be a little lag time, but you want to be ready to go by learning the Replens system. And this might be a good place to end. We didn't hit this with a lot of specificity, Kang, and I think I want to serve folks with this. How much time and energy and learning is required to be ready to jump into this system once it's built? Let's just kind of talk through that. I don't know that you and I have ever hit a specific number like, oh, 6 hours of training. But let me take a stab at it, then you fill in any gaps I leave. Okay, Kang? I think you need to be at the point where you've sold some stuff on Amazon. You understand what it means to go find a replan. You can keep a chart, which for some people takes 5 or 6 hours of study. Other people study it for dozens of hours before it kind of starts to click and they know what they're looking at, right? So there is a learning curve there to this business model. But once you understand those basics, which could take you anywhere from a couple of weeks to a few months to grasp, once you got it though, now you're ready to build an automated system, and that's what this is going to be. What would you add to that observation that I'm making? Just so people are real clear, like this isn't just go give us your credit card and push a button and you've got a business now. That's not what we've built here. You need to understand replens. You're in charge of buying good inventory still.
Yeah. So let me start by saying that there is no software service, anything out there that will give you a built business, in a nice little package, right? You
Nope,
see
it
all
does
these,
not exist. There's a lot of people
you
selling it.
yeah, you see all these automated, hey, give us $30,000 and we'll build you an Amazon business and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Run
We
away.
will
No.
never offer that, and those things never work for anyone, no except like it just doesn't. They don't work. We see people all day, every day complaining about, yeah, I
Yeah,
got burned. It's like, yeah,
and
where
likewise.
the question I always say is, before you spend any money, find the community of people who are using that strategy, that tool, that software, that service successfully and interact with them. And if that
Mhm.
community doesn't exist, that's because they're not creating any success stories. So don't put your money there, right? What we've got here is thousands of people who have built beautiful businesses, and
Mhm.
we've got a bunch of test users that you can meet and interact with. Dozens of us are going to be at the conference here in May. This episode comes out before then, the Proven Conference. There's a link in the show notes. So you can come interact, meet Kang, meet the people who are using it, having success. Right. I love your point. Business is always blood, sweat, tears, risk, work, sacrifice, and there's no magic pill or magic formula or magic software that can change that.
Yeah, and just look at my journey. I didn't, I had plenty of capital to start this business. I had plenty of knowledge of building software. I could have just like, if I were like a fraud and just say, hey, let me just build this software and it'll just build me an Amazon business. That's not what I did. I went through coaching. I stood in the aisles and bought products
Yep.
and look at keep a charts. I did all of that myself, prepped and shipped, all of that, right? So I knew the business so that I could build in a system that handles the workflow. So you need to know your stuff, right? There's no excuse. You have to know your stuff. If you don't, learn it. If you need help, hire a coach. It's really you got to have the basics down. You can't run a team if you don't know how to do it yourself. You don't know how to judge them. You don't know how to judge their work. You got to know how to do it. But what this does for you is if you do have that basics, this system allows you to not only keep everything organized and together, but it also creates that process, that system where you can run, a large team if you wanted to. I mean, I could run a team 10 times as big as I wanted to, but
Great
I'm
point.
happy. I'm happy with, where I like the trajectory of where I'm going. I don't want to run $100 million business and drive myself nuts, right? Like that's not my goal anymore. But so it can take you as far as you wanted to go, and that's the point of having a system that will help you automate your business and keep everything together.
Beautifully said. And one thing I didn't do, just to be thorough, we like to include net margins when we talk numbers. Otherwise, we'll have a good handful of comments. Well, it's one thing to sell $3 million, but what's his net margins? We're going to have 50 people saying that. Like, you've got some impressive net margins. Like, what are you looking at right now? Like, just to
So
be thorough.
so that's the beautiful part, right? So since I've advanced, and I'll call it really that, I've graduated. So a lot of times you'll hear in this community, selling replens is the absolute, like the part where you need to start. Don't go into private label, don't go into any of that stuff. But once you have replens like really bolt it down, and then you have a team to run your replens, that's when you get into all these other areas. So in the recent, I say year or so, I've really dramatically increased my margins. We used to go from like, what you hear is typical, like your 10% net or so. And I've really like gradually increased that. It's going to like 15, 16, 17% now, gross over well over 20%. And it's because I've started to add in not only the techniques like this system, like I've just mentioned, like go after the products that tanked, right? And now recovering nicely. Like, for instance, that product I mentioned beginning of the podcast that makes 42% gross margin, right? But then also add in your branded bundles where a lot of my bundles, I have a bundle that makes like almost like 39% margins, $25 in profit per sale. It's ridiculous. Private label, once you get into that, and know how to run it effectively. So those things are really boosting up my margins. On top of that, getting brand exclusive wholesale, that's really started to boost up our margins. So you really could run an automated business on, after all expenses, 15%. Like that's very realistic.
Yep.
15% net.
Yeah, and I love you just kinda laid out the battle plan that we offer new sellers. There's a reason when you start off with replens, it's low risk, the lowest learning curve, least smallest odds of doing some serious permanent damage to your Amazon selling account and your future e-commerce prospects. We weighed you in nice and slow. And even you coming in, King, with some reasonable money you could have invested. If we'd had a $50,000 option, you might have considered it, but we don't. We've got coaching, we got replens, and we got time spent doing the research and learning this thing. You spent the few weeks, few months learning it, and then you waded in and you've scaled up nicely over time, slow and steady growth curve, and you've got your business where you want it. So well done, man. Yeah, I just wanted to be thorough and share that. Well, I think we need to wrap this episode up. I know there's going to be a lot of people pretty excited and reaching out. And I'd say that a good action step for anyone to take is to call our coaching office, have a conversation about where you're at with your business and see if what we are doing here is a good fit for what you're trying to build. If we have something to offer, you can always go to silentjimdotcom, click on the coaching link, or if you want to go straight to our schedule so you can see what we've got open and available to set an appointment, use silentjim.com/book a call, all one word. That'll show you our calendar and you can jump on the phone. And I take some of those calls as well, but we got some good consultants, including a guy who's been with me over 20 years, Nathan, who runs that team. And we'll have a chat with you about what we've built here and see if it's something that you could use in your business. But Ken, great job, man. Appreciate it. Going to see you here in a few weeks, you and your beautiful family. And Orlando's going to be awesome, man. Can't wait to see you down there.
Yeah, I'm excited.
All right, Kane. Well, have a good evening, all the listeners who are hanging out with us. Just a last little reminder, we've got hundreds of episodes with the successful students who have built beautiful businesses using the training that we have around here, the stuff you hear on this show. Scroll back in time, listen to some of those episodes. But today, if you're excited by what you heard, silentjim.com/the system. Get over there, check out what we've got going right now, and we'd love to include you on the next phases of this. Let's sign off for now. We'll have another great episode for you in the future very soon.